Today is the day. A3 Atlas has reached its perihelion. What is its purpose in coming to our solar system? We're about to find out. In July of this year, the Atlas telescope system in Chile observed a strange celestial body, which is the A3 Atlas that everyone is talking about online right now. When it was discovered, it was traveling at 61 kilometers per second, speeding towards us from 670 million kilometers outside the solar system. If you have no concept of how fast that is, it is actually incredibly fast. To give you an idea, if you wanted to travel outside the solar system, you would first have to reach a speed of 16.7 kilometers per second to get out. Otherwise, the sun's gravity will keep pulling you, preventing you from escaping. This is the third cosmic velocity we learned in junior high physics. An Atlas's speed is 3.6 times the third cosmic velocity, meaning it can enter and leave the solar system at will, without any restriction. Normally, when hearing about something hurtling toward Earth, everyone's main concern is, will it hit us? The result? Astronomers analyzed Atlas's trajectory and came back with both good news and bad news. The good news is we are fairly certain it won't hit Earth. But the bad news is rather interesting. Atlas doesn't seem to be an ordinary celestial body. It seems to be consciously avoiding Earth's observation. Today, October 29th, Atlas will reach perihelion, which is its closest point to the Sun during its entire journey. At this moment, its position aligns perfectly with the Sun and the Earth, hiding precisely and perfectly behind the Sun. This is simply a perfect snooker. What exactly does it want to do to the Sun, and why is it avoiding us? In fact, back in July, shortly after Atlas was discovered, I made a video discussing some of its incredible mysteries. With continuous observations over these months, the mysteries have only grown. Today, we will look at some new discoveries. Let's talk about it in detail. The first unusual thing is that Atlas's coma is so faint, it doesn't even look like a comet. At first, the mainstream astronomical community believed Atlas was just an ordinary comet. But with continuous observations, its characteristics drifted further and further from those of a comet. A normal comet can be thought of as a dirty snowball thrown into a fire. The closer it gets to the Sun and the hotter it gets, the water ice inside will rapidly sublimate, spewing out a large amount of gas and dust, forming a huge and bright comet head, which is called a coma. However, during the early phase of Comet Atlas, its outgassing was exceptionally weak, far below normal brightness levels. This suggests that Atlas either has a hard, thick insulating outer shell, which protects the water ice inside from evaporating, or it simply isn't made of ice at all, with only a layer of ice on the surface while the inner material remains unknown. The second strange point is that during observations, Atlas was found to occasionally produce reverse jets. Normally, under the influence of solar wind and solar radiation, comets will form one or more tails. The tail pointing away from the Sun, the comet's tail, is actually visible in many comet photos. But Comet Atlas unexpectedly showed a reverse jet, meaning the tail was in front, which is highly unusual. If this wasn't an observation error or a data error, the appearance of this forward-facing reverse jet strongly suggests that Comet Atlas is being controlled. Professor Avi Loeb of Harvard University proposed an even bolder hypothesis. If this is indeed some kind of alien probe, could this reverse jet mean it is slowing down or adjusting its orbit? The braking thrust it produced? The third strange point is its anomalous surface gas. Most comets we have observed in the past are icy comets. Yet, surprisingly, 95% of Atlas's surface gas is carbon dioxide. This suggests that it likely originated from an extremely cold and chemically unique ancient stellar system. Furthermore, gaseous nickel was detected in Atlas's outgassing. In natural, celestial processes, nickel and iron are almost inseparable due to their highly similar chemical properties. This means wherever iron is found, nickel is bound to be there as well. However, astronomers yet, not a single trace of iron was found on the surface of Atlas. This is extremely rare in the known universe. Based on human knowledge, this only happens during industrial smelting, such as producing stainless steel, which creates a similar scenario. So based on this, some say that Atlas must be an artificial creation rather than a natural formation. The fourth anomaly is its flight trajectory. Why is its flight trajectory considered too coincidental? Because it simultaneously meets two extremely low probability conditions. First, the angle at which Atlas entered the solar system was extremely peculiar. Its orbit aligned almost perfectly with the ecliptic plane of our solar system, which is an extremely low probability for a random celestial interloper. But if it were a probe sent intentionally to scout the solar system, that would explain a lot. because the closer its entry angle is to the ecliptic plane, the more planets it can observe at once. And the most bone-chilling part is what I mentioned earlier. When Atlas reaches perihelion, it will hide right behind the sun, out of Earth's sight. Based on this alone, saying Atlas has no consciousness is hard to believe. But who would actually believe that? Furthermore, some have claimed that using telescopes, they captured UFOs siphoning energy from the sun's surface. Could Atlas also be trying to harvest the sun's energy? If the sun were to really wither away, Earth would be doomed too. I don't know how you feel, but personally, I don't believe that Atlas, with all its unusual features, is just an ordinary comet. And as it gets closer to our solar system, an interesting theory has started circulating online. It suggests that Atlas might be an interstellar sentinel from Nibiru. As for the legend of Nibiru tablets from the Sumerian civilization say that planet Nibiru is a ghost planet traveling through interstellar space, visiting our solar system every 3,600 years. And the masters of this planet are the legendary Anunnaki. Legend has it that they are highly intelligent life forms. Under their rule, Nibiru possessed highly advanced technology. In ancient times, the Anunnaki were like gods to life on Earth. About 450,000 years ago, as Nibiru's atmosphere was on the verge of collapse, they urgently needed a material to repair it. And this material was a metal that could only be found on Earth, gold. Thus, the Anunnaki began their expedition to Earth. But when they arrived on Earth, they found that although there was gold, mining and refining, it was extremely labor-intensive. To solve this labor crisis, Anunnaki scientists conducted a bold experiment. They genetically modified and combined the Anunnaki's own genes with those of Earth's primitive Homo sapiens, creating a new generation of intelligent humans. Then, they helped these new humans establish their first civilization before leaving. This is why those ancient rock paintings all depict the likeness of gods. Therefore, some believe that this Atlas is actually an Anunnaki. As a precursor to Nibiru's return, this might be a scout sent ahead. Just like in Red Alert, they send a scout first to see how humanity is developing. Perhaps they fear humanity has developed too fast and already surpassed them. This theory is actually spread by those who believe in creationism. But there is an obvious loophole. If this is a triumphant return, why hide behind the sun? Theoretically, even if their development was slow, they should be far ahead of Earth. Why act so stealthily? Another theory suggests that Atlas could be an advanced civilization that discovered Earth and confirmed that our development lags behind theirs. So they sent a fleet to destroy us. Because we know humanity has sent messages into outer space more than once, hoping to find extraterrestrial civilizations and establish contact, such as the Golden Record on Voyager 1 and the 1974 Arecibo message. Could some civilization have actually received and decoded these messages, realized humans are weak, and sent a fleet to plunder Earth's resources? This is pure speculation, as we still have no evidence proving that extraterrestrial civilizations exist. Although in 2001, a crop circle appeared which was highly speculated to be an alien reply to the Arecibo message. But that is just speculation, unrecognized by the scientific community, and we cannot rule out that it was a hoax personally. I think there is actually an even wilder theory we have mentioned more than once before, that Earth's civilization is likely cyclical. And we are not the only advanced civilization before us. There might have been hundreds of eras more advanced than ours, so is it possible that one of these previous civilizations suffered a catastrophic disaster, perhaps a nuclear war, plague, or even an alien invasion at that time? The survivors boarded a massive spaceship and fled Earth. The spaceship was the Atlas, and they drifted in space for countless years, and this time, they finally found their way home. However, they weren't sure if Earth or the solar system had returned to normal and was still habitable. So they didn't dare to return straight to Earth, and instead orbited the sun first to scout the situation. Anyway, this three-eye Atlas is definitely no ordinary celestial body. What makes us feel helpless is that, with humanity's current technology, we cannot intercept or capture it. Even detecting it is extremely difficult. We can only watch as it passes through the solar system. Even if it really wanted to do something bad, there is nothing we could do. I only hope that it doesn't do anything to our sun-hostile intent, because today it will reach its perihelion. If its goal is to destroy the sun, then we're finished. This time, it's not just Earth, but Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, and Mars. Not a single one will survive. They'll all die. Thanks for watching. I'm Tony, and I'll see you next time.